Okay, September 11, 9/11, momentous day in New York. Um, we will start with a review of our previous lessons. We did three things. First is that we had the online course, and then I gave you a homework, and then I gave you a quiz, although not on the same day. Okay, but for the module one, that's all we did, and we'll be doing the same thing for module two. For the quiz, there are 40 points supposedly, but later on, actually, it becomes 39 only because I removed one of the questions because I realized there was a mistake in the question. So the scores range from 20 to 39. Therefore, there were three who actually got highest perfect points. Um, and then the median is 35 and the average grade is 34.36. Now, what questions were difficult? I post here the four top difficult questions because at least half or only half got it or less than half. No? Um, so, which is an advantage of kiln drying over air drying when seasoning lumber? So when this question was asked in the group chat, my first answer that it is faster. No, but then later on, I also answered some other things like the result is more predictable and then it's cheaper in bulk. That's why most of you, a lot of you answered the first, it is faster. But the right answer is letter D. It is all of the above. No? No, there's no letter because the questions were also shuffled. So, which is not a property of the heartwood. So, around 52% said that liquids cannot penetrate easily. Actually, all of these were taken from the slides, except that I tweaked the words on the correct answer. It says here it is highly prone to decay and insect attacks. But if you review the slides, it is not actually prone to decay and insect attacks. Then which of the following is the equivalent of 6 lengths of 2 by 3 by 8 in board feet? Now, multiply 2 by 3 and 8 and then divide the product with 12 gets 4 board feet. And then 54% of you answered that. But you forgot that there were supposed to be 6 of those, 6 lengths. So you have to multiply 4 by 6. And so the correct answer is 24 board feet. Okay. I really expected some of you, a lot of you, to get confused. So please watch out. No, in the board exam, this question can actually come out. Now, this is the question which I invalidated. The question is supposed to state which is not true about commercial lumber, but I forgot to change it. Instead, it is which is true about commercial lumber because the answer that here is that it is sold in any lengths, which is wrong because commercial lumber is sold in lengths of from 6 feet to 20 feet in increments of 2 feet. So 6, 8, 10, 12 feet, 14, 16, 18 feet. Okay. So that's understandable why only 4 got the right answer. Maybe they also figured out that the question was wrong. But anyway, I reviewed the Google form and I ascribed a point of 0 for this question. Therefore, the total is only 39 points. Okay, so let's go directly to our topic, which is cement and concrete. So this will be a very short topic, therefore, very short lecture. So cement, it's a material which, when placed in a plastic state, possess adhesive and cohesive properties and hardens in place. So it is a calcined mixture of clay and limestone, finely pulverized and used as an ingredient in concrete and mortar. So there are two terms here that we will tackle later, concrete and mortar. Okay, so cement added with water, okay, becomes plastic. It becomes a something that you can easily manipulate. It becomes malleable, and then when it hardens, or when it dries up, it hardens. So that's basically cement. There are many types. There are 5 types of cement. Okay, of course, we're exposed to type 1, which is the normal, which is used for general construction. But if you have to, your project becomes bigger, so you need a special type of cement. If it's large piers and heavy retaining walls, so you need type 2. But then if you're working with cold weather or maybe very hot weather, or even if you're working under the water, no, the sea, when they're making bridges, so you need a high early strength, and then you have low heat, and then also sulfate resisting. So depending on the condition, but most of the time, you encounter these conditions if your projects are big, and then like civil works. Most common type of brand of cement is the Portland cement. There's also the pozzolanic cement, which comes in 2 forms. The natural one is actually like volcanic material, but then the other one is Portland cement mixed with some other material. But they have special uses, and we seldom use them for construction. And normally we use Portland cement. It is a hydraulic cement made by burning a mixture of clay and limestone in a rotary kiln and pulverizing the salt clinker into very fine powder. So it got its name from a quarry in the Isle of Portland, England. So if you can see in the picture, this is the branding of a certain product, Paragon, which is not here in the Philippines. But you can see that this is applicable to type 1, 2, and 4 construction. Okay, so it's a versatile type of cement. Concrete is packed in bags of 40 kilogram weight. Okay, before I don't know whether there is still that. I think there's a 50 kilogram in the past. I don't know if it still exists, but it's very rare. Now it's really 40 kilogram. I don't know the cost. Maybe it's more than 300 pesos per bag. So these are basically the ingredients that we will be working on while working on in our discussion. We have the cement, then sand, and then water, and then aggregates. So depending on what you mix, you come up with something. You mix cement and water, you get plaster. Sometimes you mix some other things like cement coloring or some pebbles, but that's still plaster, or a few sand. But cement, water, and sand on a particular ratio becomes mortar. The mortar is used, say, when you put hollow blocks on top of another, so you put mortar as bedding before you put another hollow block. So that's the use of mortar. Then cement plus water and sand and gravel is what we call concrete. But you add steel bars, then that becomes reinforced concrete. So you have to use your terms correctly. Let's talk about aggregates. So aggregate is defined as an inert granular material such as sand and gravel, which when mixed with cement and water results in concrete. So there are 2 types basically, fine and coarse. Okay, so how are they defined? No? Fine aggregates are smaller than 6 mm in diameter. So consist of sand and stone screenings. Okay, sand like the white sand placed in Manila Bay, which is not beach sand, but a dolomite rock, or dolomite which is powdered into sand. A good sand for concrete is one that is well graded from fine to coarse, has minimum voids, has relatively coarse appearance. So sand is very small, so actually you cannot control this. All you can control is the size. So that's why you pass them through a screen, so that the bigger particles are left, no? And also the the organic materials are left. You might have some splinters of wood mixed with sand or some vegetation mixed with sand, so they're screened out. 6 millimeter, that would also mean that pebbles are considered fine aggregates because they are smaller pebbles. Okay, so we use the pebbles mixed with plaster. We can have a pebble washout finish. Coarse aggregates are aggregates larger than 6 millimeter in diameter and consist of crushed stones and ordinary gravel. So it's not only always the gravel that you pick up that becomes the aggregate. Sometimes the stones, no? Sometimes the stones are crushed because we are aiming for a particular size. And what size is this? Because we need 12 mm to 19 mm diameter of gravel for roof beams, floors, slabs, and thin reinforced concrete walls. And then larger than that, like 50 mm for footing, thick reinforced concrete walls, and massive concrete works. Okay, so why do we need smaller aggregates for beams, floors, and slabs? Because the space is very small also. And then we have the bars, so the gravel has to fill up the void between the bars and the form, no, the concrete. So you cannot have air pockets inside your concrete. When you have that air pocket, we call that waffles. Okay, so when you remove the form and it's not smooth, it's not really concrete all the time because you notice that there are air pockets and sometimes they form a large collection. So we call that waffling. And water, another one of the ingredients. Uh, it is mixture of the water used in concrete should be clean and free from injurious amounts of oil, acid, alkali, organic material, and other substances that may be deleterious to concrete or the reinforcements. Okay, so it should be pure water. I read somewhere that it should be potable water, but I don't think it's necessary that you can drink the water. But for as long as it does not have all these acids and the oil and organic material or any material like wood or vegetation that may be mixed up with with the water or even some soil. Now, seawater or brackish water shall not be allowed. Okay, just because you're building a beach house and you're by the sea doesn't mean you can go to the sea and get pails of seawater and use for concrete. So there's it reacts. No, there will be a chemical reaction with concrete, and it's not allowed. Brackish water means a combination of fresh and seawater. You sometimes see that in lakes or in mangrove areas. Now, concrete. So it is inherently strong in compression. So this is the main advantage of concrete. So compression is when you are it's a force going inside, no? The material. So it can withstand a very large force in terms of compression. But when it comes to tension, when the force is pulling out the material, so concrete easily breaks. So to withstand tension, so we use steel reinforcement. We put steel inside. Okay. Um, it is capable of being formed into almost any shape. So with a variety of surface finishes, textures, and pattern. So by now you've been familiar with a lot of works of architects, especially in your ArcHist. When it started, architects were really experimenting on the concrete, no, to come up with fluid forms. So we can experiment until now, no, it's the same. And then it provides fireproof construction. So that's obvious. Now, depending on where you're going to use concrete, so the mixture of these ingredients of sand, um, cement, sand, and gravel also differs. So here, under applications, you see that for concrete underwater, retaining walls, road pavements, and waterproof structures, you need a Class AA mixture, which is 1:1.5:3. So 1 part cement, 1.5 sand, part sand, and 3 parts gravel. Okay. Um, So for slabs, beams, columns, arches, stairs, and walls, that's type A. So 1:4, 1:2:4. And then for footing, steps, reinforced concrete slab on fill, and slabs thicker than 100 millimeters thick, that's class B, and so on and so forth. So just review the slides later on when I post them. And then, of course, at the far right, you can see the probable strength after 28 days. So it's in the unit is in PSI, but these are more the concerns for engineers. But we have to be familiar with the proportions, the class, when we make estimates. Okay, how much sand, how much gravel, and how many bags of cement are we going to order? So it depends on where it is applied and what class of mixture will be applied. So to mix concrete, so there are many ways. Of course, for very small construction, we do it by hand. Okay, you have your shovel, and then you mix them all together. Normally, it's like a ceremony. You put the sand first, and then you form it like a volcano, and then you mix it with cement, you form it like a volcano, and then mix in the water, then mix again, and then put water every now and finally the gravel. And then we also have the transit mixer and also the drum. This is also called mixer only. And then finally the ready mix concrete. Okay. Although the ready mix concrete is transported by this transit mixer. So this is done in a plant. And then when it's transported, if you have seen a transit mixer, you will notice that the back, which is a large drum, is rotating because it's mixing it while it's being transported. So it is very important when you order a batch concrete that they know the time that it should be delivered, and that they will be the one to factor in the travel time considering traffic and all. Okay, because it's being mixed while it's on its way, while it's on transit, and by the time that it arrives, it should be mixed enough so that it can be immediately poured. Now, if it happens that they arrived early, so you cannot pour immediately, you have to wait for it to finish mixing on site. But then if it happens that they arrive late or they are stuck in traffic, then they go back to the plant because by then the mixture is compromised. So they have to make a new mixture. Okay, but that will be their own fault because they were not able to estimate well the travel time, or simply it's not the fault of the client, or nor their fault supposedly that suddenly there's a traffic somewhere, maybe because storm, or I don't know what accidents happen. So the slump test is meant to evaluate the mixture of concrete. So you have like a cylinder which you put in this way, put concrete and then remove it, and then the amount of slump, or how much it went down, no, from the tip of the cylinder earlier, is measured. And then If it is within the range, acceptable range, then the mixture is okay. Now, the slump test is supposed to be done for each batch of cement. And when you're mixing cement by hand, sometimes they don't do that anymore, which is risky. So that's why you have good engineers and foreman watching over the process to make sure that everything is really tested. So how do you transport concrete? We mentioned a few, but we mentioned the transit mixer, but that's when the mixture is done very far away. But if it's very near, or like from just the site, from one point to another point in the site, so the most common is the buggy, okay, the wheelbarrow. Okay. Otherwise, you have other things here like the bucket, which is carried by a crane. You have a hopper, you have a hoist. The tremie is like the bucket, but then it's like a funnel. It has a long hose, like a hose going down. And sometimes this is used for underwater construction. The pump crate here you see down here is like a special transportation that its role is mainly to pump concrete from the lower part, and then the crane has a hose attached to it, and then you can now pour concrete at the upper floors. You will see it in this example in how to deposit concrete. You see here on the top, well, in the middle picture by Pumpcrete. So that's a big hose, and then it's pumping concrete, and then you have to guide it. Okay, so it pours where? So there's a person who always guides it. Then there's that maximum drop of 900 mm. Okay, so otherwise it will, I don't know, it will scatter all over, no, in your construction. Of course, the very basic is by using construction pail. Otherwise, you can also use bucket, which is sent up by a crane, or you have a chute, which is um, like a canal, no? That where the concrete slides. Now, towards your right, you see here a vibrator. Okay, so as you put concrete, especially by pumpcrete, because this is a very fast process, you have to make sure that that the mixture fills up all the voids in your forms. Okay, so if you have a slab, so you make sure that the corner, the concrete really goes there. So you use that, you poke the that part with a vibrator, and in principle, it helps. No? It helps um, consolidate everything and then fill up gaps. After you pour the concrete, you have to cure it. So normally it takes 28 days. Curing means allowing it to harden. But then the top portion of the concrete mix is the one most susceptible to damage, like the picture you see here. Okay, so it's no longer flat, it's no longer smooth, because that portion became easily dried up and became brittle, so that it is easily removed. Okay, so it's not monolithic anymore. So concrete should be protected during the first few hours after being placed and finished until proper curing is achieved. So leaving the form in place, so not removing immediately, is one way of retaining the moisture in concrete. Okay, because if you remove it, even the part under the formworks is now exposed to air, and then water can easily evaporate. Now there are many ways to cure concrete. One is by water pounding or flooding. I think this is supposed to be water ponding, no letter U. Anyway, so which means that you have to put a barrier around uh, around the concrete surface and put water so that water stays there. So the water protects it from easily evaporating. Or you can just keep on sprinkling water for 7 days. Another way is to put some materials on top, like wet sawdust, wet sand, around 1 inch thick, so that it protects again from the sun and from fast evaporation. Or you can use paper, waterproof paper, or plastic sheets. Okay, but this is very cumbersome, expensive also. Another expensive way of doing it is using curing compounds. You spray it, so some chemicals. Okay. We mentioned about reinforced concrete. So there will always be, this is usual, no? Using steel. But we will not talk about the steel used in reinforcement today because we have another module for steel in general. So we will talk about it in that session. So for now, we focus only on concrete and cement. But this is what I meant, this drawing in compressed steel. So it takes longer for concrete to give in when the stress is subjected to compressive stress. But when it's subjected to tensile stress, it is it easily gives in. So in the case of a beam, um, the middle part of the beam are actually subjected to both stresses. The top portion are subjected to compressive stress because the beam sags like that due to gravity, and so it's like forcing the top to compress. But then the lower part is being pulled out, so that's a tensile stress. That's why the beam, I mean the steel being placed there is designed so that towards the middle, the steel is more at the bottom, protecting the bottom from giving way. Okay, so again, that's really a work of the civil engineers, but then it's worth also to understand the principles. We also have what we call admixture. So it's not the main ingredients that I showed you earlier. So these are substances added to concrete batch to alter or enhance specific properties. So there are many types of admixture. The most common is the waterproofing. So waterproofing can come in powder form, you mix with concrete, or it's also liquid form. Again, you mix in concrete the mixture before it hardens. And sometimes it can also be applied even when the concrete has already hardened. Okay, there are those which are like gels. So at first they are liquid, and then when they harden, when in contact with another chemical or with water, so they expand and then they harden. So they're able to fill in all the small voids in the concrete, all the small cracks, which may be the cause for leaks. Um, Other admixture that I've heard of, but I have not really used, is, for example, um, to make it to make it dry faster, which is used especially for underwater construction. So there are many other types of admixture, but we will not tackle them here because that will be part of your homework. So therefore, these are the references. Let's talk about that homework. Okay. So very easy. Give at least 3 brands of cement. Here in the Philippines, I think we have already more than 3. And then give at least 3 kinds of admixtures. And finally, give 3 suppliers of each of the above materials. So we've been through this supplier task, so it's the same. Okay, look for supplier within your province. If it's not applicable, you can look at the province near. nearby, or if it is really the material is not really applicable, then tell me in a private message that I'm aware of your situation. Sometimes, though, I don't really believe that there are no supplies. Okay, so I don't believe that there are no bamboo anywhere in the whole province. So, there, if it's not a company, maybe it's just a family or a person supplying it. But there ought to be. But here, we're not talking about indigenous materials, so these are very highly commercialized material. So they will be available in hardwares. Okay. Type in Word or Google Docs using A4 portrait oriented. So I get asked a lot if it's portrait or landscape. I get asked a lot if it is A4 or if no A4, what to do. So again, look for a bigger material like long band paper. If you want, you can also go um, like buy a cartolina and then cut it to A4 size. Okay. um, Submit on September 16. So that's a very generous um, amount of time because you will submit it together with your homework 3, which I will give you next meeting. Um, okay, basically that's it. Um, Next meeting, we'll be talking about plasterboard materials. So at the same time, after the lecture, I will assign a quiz similar to quiz number 1. And then you'll have to do that on the spot. Um, then you'll have to finish it at the end of the period. Okay. Um, then I'll assign the homework 3, which you will submit on the 16th. 16th, you will not have an online meeting, so you will do self-study. And then on the 18th, we talk about ceramic stones and stonework. Okay. Um, that's the end. So before we end the session, um, I'll just check the chat box. So there are 3 types of admixture. Yes, you also give 3 suppliers for each admixture. So that makes 9 suppliers. But then again, the same supplier can have the 3 products in their store. So you just repeat the suppliers. Font style and font size, sir. Okay. Um, I think I was asked about this last time. I'm not sure if it's in this class, but we use the normal font. Okay, whatever is the default. I'm not really, or you can use any font. Just don't make it too fancy. More, it's not the most important part of the assignment. Sir, sa Google Classroom is submit? Yes. Margin, what margin? Okay, just use the default of Word. If not, 1-inch margin all around. Sir, we print it and then take a picture of the paper or do we pass a soft copy? Um, a soft copy is similar to the picture that you took which you submit. So you can either take a picture of it or scan it and send it to me either by JPEG or PDF. Okay, I prefer PDF actually, but some of you, I don't know whether you know how to convert it to PDF, so JPEG is okay. Um, the way I had no problem checking all your work, first assignment. So you do it the first and the same manner. I have no complaints. So after this, I'm not sure if I've already submitted the assignments back, but I'll check Google Forms. If not, then I'll return them to you, your assignments and also your quiz. Sir, concrete and cement lang ang topic for the next quiz? Yes. Yes. Would you like to suggest another topic that I will include? You can. But So the quiz will be similar to the quiz last time. It's all multiple choice, but it's shuffled. The questions are shuffled, and then the options are shuffled, and then it's under time pressure. Okay. Um, Kuan, it's we will have to slowly transition to Canvas. That's why this question of whether to submit in Google Classroom is very important. So for now, we submit in Google Classroom, but because at least they already fixed Canvas, and so they already tried fixing it. So they wanted us to try it again. So whether it is really finally fixed. So we cannot tell unless we use it. Um, that's why I asked the chairman if I can transition after the midterm, but he said that it is preferable if we transition as soon as possible. Therefore, maybe after we come back on the 16th, so the schedule is 14, 16. So on the 18th, we might start using Canvas. Okay, so we leave behind this. We leave behind the Google Classroom. I don't think there's any problem with all of you. I think you're already starting to receive some notifications from Canvas again because I started uploading some materials in Canvas. Um, that's it. So, sir, when ang quiz 16? So take note of the answer of Clarence. No, it's on the 14th. Okay, that's it. So see you next meeting, 14th. And please be ready for the quiz. Good
See you,
luck.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
See you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Kakanta,
Sir,
sir.
pamahaw, sir. Ay kalimot kaon, sir.